Take a look at what happened.
We can see the guy down.
Authorities saying this is the lifeless body of the shooter on the roof of that building.
Oh yeah, we back with another episode of The Twisted Tea, where we come to bring you the news with a twist. And well, in case you missed it, or you ain't heard, which I'm sure you have, I doubt that you have missed it, because it's been all over the place. Oh yeah, President Trump, well, ex-President Trump just took some shots. Pew pew. That's right, I know, it's not funny. We ain't laughing. But with that being said, someone did try to take attempts at his life, and we will be here discussing whether or not we think that this is a real matter or a fake matter at hand. That's right. Like as if it wasn't staged, or was it? Big questions you got to ask yourself. You see, the media is always putting stuff out there, and well, this is nothing different, all right? And I say it's nothing different because they give us glimpses and pieces, but I always have to ask myself more questions.
My guys, take a look at that yard.
It is exactly what these counter snipers trained to do. But this was the first time in history, according to a former senior agent, that a Secret Service sniper killed a would-be assassin.
I'm going to present you with some information. You go ahead and tell me what you think. So with that being said, let's dive into a few things that I noticed that I found to be a little strange. For instance, there's video footage of them, well, people at the rally basically talking and saying, hey, somebody's on the roof. Am I the only one that sees that? Somebody climb up there and get them. All right? So watch this, and then we'll come back and talk about what we think from it.
Tonight, remarkable new images here. The alleged gunman seen climbing to the roof just minutes before opening fire at that rally. You can actually hear people in the crowd yelling to an officer, pointing him out.
Stunning new video tonight showing the moment Donald Trump's would-be assassin climbed onto the roof of that building just 2 minutes before he opened fire.
Yeah, look, there he is.
You can hear bystanders desperately trying to alert police.
After watching the video and stepping back, for me personally, when I watched that video and you tell me that there were people there that basically knew what was going on other than the cops, and then the cops knew what was going on, questionable. That's right, questionable. We got to ask ourselves, what is really happening? What are we hiding?
Authorities now using that video as part of the investigation. And tonight, ABC News has learned that heavily armed local police were stationed inside that building and missed Thomas Crooks climbing up the outside of the building to the roof. The same building was being used as a staging area for local police, according to 2 law enforcement officials. And Butler Township officials are confirming ABC News' reporting that a local police officer climbed up the roof and confronted Brooks moments before the shooting.
Now, as you heard, they were using that facility, for police to pretty much stay there, which means that he's on top of the building that they hanging out in. And you don't think, that you're gonna just step back and go, oh, well, it's such a coincidence. Yeah, no, he just climbed that building, he sat there, and no one knew. No, they knew. They knew it was addressed and it wasn't properly dealt with, okay? Which is just one of the things that makes me question what really took place on this day. Now, another thing that took place that is in question, if you just listening to the director lady, who's supposed to be on top, right? it sounds like they are basically gunning for her job.
Take a look at what happened.
Washington lawmakers demanding answers, calling on the Secret Service director to appear before Congress.
Now, I'm going to be honest, I ain't do no background research to figure out who she is or what, or how she even got the job. Okay? I don't care. Tell you just like that. I don't care. But I will say that it looks like they're gunning for her job and that they don't want her there. So this would be something nice to kind of set up and put in place in order to easily make it look like she can't do her job. All right?
What was your reaction when you saw the events unfold on Saturday?
Shock, and then concern, obviously, for the former president. This is an event that should have never happened.
Who is most responsible for this happening?
What I would say is that the Secret Service is responsible for the protection of the former president.
So the buck stops with you?
The buck stops with me. I am the director of the Secret Service. It was unacceptable, and it's something that shouldn't happen again.
The President and Homeland Security Secretary said today they had 100% confidence in you, but there are some members of Congress calling on you to resign.
I appreciate the Secretary's comments, and we're going to continue to be transparent and communicate with people.
You plan to stay on, absolutely.
I do plan to stay on.
Just saying. It also makes like the Secret Service can't do their job, even though they haven't actually had to handle a threat like this in a very long time. And, well, they haven't killed any of the other ones that actually assassinated presidents, so what do I know? But you just check your own history if you don't believe me, and you'll figure it out for yourself. But this is the first time they put somebody down.
Investigators tonight trying to determine whether roof access had been properly locked down. The shooter climbing seemingly unimpeded about 400 feet from the stage with a direct line of sight on the former president.
The fact that somebody was able to get within 200 yards with a rifle and be on an exposed rooftop, be seen by other people there, be seen by where it should have been cameras and drones and many other things in place to watch for that, something broke down. That shooter with that rifle should have never been that close to the former president of the United States at a venue like this.
For right now, let's just keep up with some of the other strange things in the news that I question, that you should too. All right? So another one of those things that I questioned in the news was after all of it took place, right? They said that they did a really good job of getting him down and getting him out of there, when those shots had taken off and shots had been fired. Prior to even that, sorry I didn't add this before, but prior to even that, they did go out and say that officers tried to approach the suspect on the roof and that they climbed up there, noticed that he had the gun, right? Noticed that it was there and that they fell off the roof while climbing. They lost their balance and a few minutes later, shots rang out. Now, people, again. You smell it? You smell that? I smell it. It smells like horse manure to me. Cow crap. A bunch of bull sugar. Look at that. Eyes wide open. You ain't gonna just pull that one over me. You get somebody else, but you ain't getting me. All right? You ain't just slip and fall and didn't have backup right there. Like, hey, backup, where you at? You not gonna come help me through this? No, it doesn't work that way. I find that to be backwards. That's all. Just thought I'd let you know. Now, I'm going to play another little clip for you. I want you to take a listen, check it out. With that being said, we'll come back and talk about that clip right after this.
The officer grabbed hold of the edge of the building, pulled himself up to be able to look, and according to what he's told me, shooter turned, rifle was pointed at the officer. The officer, defensive move, kind of ducked, fell, lost his grip on the building.
So, what did we just learn from that video? A couple things, okay? Number one, we learned that the snipers were slow and that they didn't do their job to begin with, or this wouldn't have even been a thing. Number two, we learned that the Secret Service, in a sense, well, again, didn't do their job, or again, we wouldn't be in this. But we really learned that the layout of the land that they had there, it really wasn't that far apart from where everything was. It was a very close distance. It was about 200 yards, they said, or 200 feet, which honestly, you know, for a sniper to take something at that range is pretty close for what they have to work with. So we noticed that there really wasn't even a spot for the person to hide because they didn't get an opportunity to hide because they were pointed out. So if they were pointed out, didn't get a chance to hide, the other snipers on the roof should be at higher points so that they can see all of that stuff. I'm sure they're trained on it. So, hello. Again, you put what you think in the comments about this, but to me, it looked like an inside job.
You can see those two counter snipers scanning for threats in their positions on the rooftop behind former President Trump. Their high-powered rifles appear to be pointed in the direction of the gunman's position on an adjacent building overlooking the rally.
The first interview that was done with Trump after the shooting took place, this is what was said.
We are learning that the former president has now given his very first interview since surviving this attempt on his life to Selena Zito of the Washington Examiner.
Well, it's really interesting. I was just a few feet away from him, along with my daughter, who is a photojournalist. And he was aware of that because I was supposed to go to fly to Bedminster with him after the rally to do an interview with him. And so he called me this morning or this afternoon and said, and wanted to know if myself and my daughter were okay. So that's how the conversation started. And then I asked him if I could interview him, just talk to him about those moments and about how this changed him. And that's when he said, well, I was going to do a speech that was going to be a real humdinger. I think those were his exact words.
Yeah, so just before we even dive into that, from just those small clips, we know that, well, her and Trump are close. She's been around him for quite some time. You know, I'm not sure how long, but from the way this sounds, it seems like it's been a long time, and that she's been kind of following and around his career to really know him. Maybe not like on the inside of the, you know, the stuff he might do on the inside of his house, but to get an idea on how he moves and how he works and some of the things that he may kind of think. All right? So with that being said, let's finish out what she has to say, because she makes a very interesting point coming up about his mannerisms for something he's never done that he did that day. So pay attention.
And Abby, you have covered his events before. When you watch him at a rally, he always looks forward. Always looks forward. He never looks to his right or to his left. And he had put a screen up that showed a chart. Also never does charts. And he looked to his right, something he never does. And as he looked to his right, the bullet grazed right past his face.
Oh yeah, you heard her. He did things that he's never done before. And the one time he did this, well, bullets grazed his face. Now, I know for most people that are out there, they go, oh, wow, yeah, no, it's probably just the way it is. In my head, I step back and go, well, maybe the check, the turn, was all things that were supposed to be looked for by, well, the shooter to know when to start shooting. I know it sounds messy, right? Sounds like, that not possible. No, I know what it sounds like, but anything's possible, okay? Anything's possible.
One shot right here, Mike. One shot. Right.
I do feel like there's a lot of times where with Trump, he says a lot more, he does a lot more than others would like. All right? It's not easy to control somebody who pays their own way. So with that being said, warning shots. With that also being said, Trump's a strong individual, so this could be a cool ploy in a sense to try to make the country be stronger for his political party. They're also been trying to fight, the gun laws. So this could also be something that goes into, the gun laws later, where I don't know, you all may or may not notice that a lot of times gun law talks come up, it's after a big shooting like this, or big shootings in general, and then the gun law talks start coming up. But then when you get in and you do your research, half the time the people that are shooting the guns, they ain't take the proper classes to do proper things. There's a lot more behind it that, again, we're not getting into because that's not for us to get into today. But what we are getting into is whether or not this is or isn't or can or cannot be real or fake. I mean, clearly it's real because it happened, but the perception of it, is it really what it's supposed to be? Okay? Now, like I said, that lady has known Trump for some time. She's known a lot of his mannerisms to know that certain things he doesn't do. And Trump doesn't care for teleprompters, all right? He would rather just speak and yell and let off whatever he's saying so that you could feel that raw emotion and the raw energy, whereas most people read from the teleprompter in their scripts because that is what they're supposed to be doing, is reading a script because it's a storyline story. I'm just saying, even he says it. So, again, you make your own call. We're going to get into another little bit of a video where a former Secret Service agent talks about the things that should have been done or could have been done or would have been done, and or what they learned to prevent things of this nature. So, quick deep dive.
I'm joined by retired Secret Service agent Michael Suchi. Michael worked for Presidents Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden. Here he is with Obama. Saturday, what went wrong?
There was definitely a failure within the outer perimeter, and I think that's where we need to start the investigation.
Yeah, especially because this was noted by the Secret Service in its advanced sweep of the property itself, that roof was vulnerable. When you see, because you've done advances for presidents, when you see a vulnerability like that, do you just call it out and then just let it be?
No. Once you identify a vulnerability, there's mitigations put into place. So the counter-sniper team obviously identified that building as a vulnerability, and their positioning on the roof was the mitigation. I believe they did something right in identifying that vulnerability. Every agent goes through a detailed training.
They keep him on the ground for about a minute. They bring him back up. When they're taking him off the stage, his head is fully uncovered. Is that typical protocol? What do you make of that?
No, that's not typical protocol for us. So at the foundation of this training is to be taught how to cover and evacuate. The fact that he puts his head out and pumps his fist is his own choice.
Okay, so if you're in that situation, isn't your job to, regardless that it's former President Trump, you're there to protect him. Isn't it your job to make him shield?
Absolutely. We're trained to put one hand around the front of his belly and the other hand behind the head to hold the head down. If his head would have been shot in that evacuation, then that would have been scrutinized.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you heard what the man had to say. And, I'm going to be honest. I'm not a professional. I don't stand out there with the Secret Service or nothing. I just use common sense for this stuff. And obviously, most of it makes sense. What do we know? But here's what we do know. We know they need to get it together, all right? And that Trump has went on to go to the next place and the next place, and he's not going to stop. He keep that arm pumped up in the air, pushing on his rally. I'm not here promoting any side of the election. I'm not here to push a political view on you. None of that. I'm just here to tell you what I think, and I think that, well, it's a good little staged event for us, isn't it? That's right. Keeps us going, keeps us guessing. Unfortunately, people did get hurt in that, and in a lot of these messy staged events, people do get hurt, and believe me, they know in advance. So with that being said, I know it sounded controversial, but I'm not going to have time to make it right now to talk about old boy that pulled the trigger in this. So I'm going to make another video tomorrow putting up a little bit of information about old boy that pulled the trigger so that you can kind of get a little bit of background information. Why he did it, we don't know. Like I said, it was probably a staged event. Okay? They're going to tell us he did it because of his political beliefs. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. If he was 20-something years old, 20, 21 years old, his political beliefs are very skewed anyway. So, with that being said, I want to say thank you for coming over and checking out an episode of The Twisted Tea, where we like to bring you the news with a twist. Feel free to hit those buttons. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you can get when I do put up a little bit on the shooter. Thank you. Have yourself a good day, and we'll be here for you when you come back.